Shabbat Shalom if you're watching live. Um, we are picking up in the book of Second Chronicles. Different setup right now. I hope that my mic is working. We're gonna run it, and we'll find out. If you jump in here, let me know. All right, we're in chapter 34 of Second Chronicles. Josiah was 8 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned in Jerusalem 1 and 30 years. Sorry, 1 and 30 years, 31 years, and he did that which was right in the sight of Yahweh, and walked in the ways of David his father, and declined neither to the right hand nor to the left. For in the 8th year of his reign, while he was yet young, he began to seek after Elohim, the Elohim of David his father. And in the 12th year, he began to purge Judah and Jerusalem from the high places and the groves and the carved images and the molten images. And they brake down the altars of Baalim in his presence, and the images that were on high above them he cut down, and the groves and the carved images and the molten images he brake in pieces, and made dust of them, and strewed it upon the graves of them that had sacrificed unto them. And he burnt the bones of the priests upon the altars, and cleansed Judah and Jerusalem. And so he did in the cities of Manasseh and Ephraim and Simeon, even unto Naphtali, and there and their mattocks round about, with their mattocks round about. And when he had broken down the altars and the groves, and had beaten the graven images into powder, he cut down all the idols throughout all the land of Israel. He returned to Jerusalem. Now in the 18th year of his reign, when he had purged the land in the house, he sent Shaphan, the son of Azaliah, and Maaseiah, the governor of the city, and Joah, the son of Joahaz, the recorder, to repair the house of Yahweh his Elohim. And when they came to Hilkiah, the high priest, they delivered the money that was brought into the house of Elohim, which the Levites had kept, uh, which the Levites that kept the door had gathered of the hand of Manasseh and Ephraim, and all of the remnant of Israel, and all Judah and Benjamin, and they returned to Jerusalem. And they put it in the hand of the workmen that had the oversight of the house of Yahweh. And they gave it to the workmen that wrought it in the house of Yahweh to repair and amend the house. Even to the artificers and builders they gave it, to buy hewn stone and timber for couplings, and to floor the houses which the kings of Judah had destroyed. And the men did the work faithfully, and the overseers of them were Jahath and Obadiah, the Levites of the sons of Merari, and Zechariah and Meshullam, the sons of the Kohathites, to set it forward. And other of the Levites, all that could skill of instruments of music, also they were over the bearers of burdens, and were overseers of all that wrought the work of any manner of service. And all the Levites there were scribes and officers and porters. And they that wrought out the money and they that brought out the money that was brought into the house of Yahweh. Hilkiah the priest found a book of the law of Yahweh given by Moses. That this is the major turning point here, where they found the Torah. Verse 15. And Hilkiah answered and said to Shaphan the scribe, I have found the book of the law in the house of Yahweh. And Hilkiah delivered the book to Shaphan, and Shaphan carried the book to the king, and brought the king word back again, saying, All that was committed to thy servant, they do it. And they have gathered together the money that was found in the house of Yahweh, and they delivered into the hand of the overseers, and to the hand of the workmen. Then Shaphan the scribe told the king, saying, Hilkiah the priest hath given me a book. And Shaphan read it before the king. And it came to pass, when the king had heard the words of the law, that he rent his clothes. And the king commanded Hilkiah and Ahikam the son of Shaphan, and Abdon the son of Micah, And Shaphan the scribe and Uzziah, a servant of the king, saying, Go, inquire of Yahweh for me, and for them that are left in Israel and in Judah, concerning the words of the book that is found. For great is the wrath of Yahweh that is poured out upon us, because our fathers have not kept the word of Yahweh, to do after all that is written in this book. And Hilkiah and they that the king had appointed went to Huldah the prophetess, the wife of Shallum, the son of Tikvath, the son of Hasra, keeper of the wardrobe. Now she dwelt in Jerusalem in the college, and they spake to her to that effect. And she answered them, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim of Israel, Tell ye the man that sent you to me, Thus saith Yahweh, Behold, I will bring evil upon this place, and upon the inhabitants thereof, even all the curses that are written in the book which they have read before the king of Judah, because they have forsaken me, and have burned incense unto other gods, that they might provoke me to anger with all the work of their hands. Therefore my wrath shall be poured out upon this place, and shall not be quenched. Verse 26. And as the king of Judah, who sent you to inquire of Yahweh, so shall ye say unto him, Thus saith Yahweh Elohim of Israel, concerning the words which thou hast heard. Because thine heart was tender, and thou didst humble thyself before Elohim, when thou heardst the words against this place, and against the inhabitants thereof, and humbledst thyself before me, and didst rend thy clothes, and weep before me, I have even heard thee also, said Yahweh. Behold, I will gather thee to thy fathers, and thou shalt be gathered to thy grave in peace. Neither shall thine heart see all the evil that I will bring upon this place, and upon the inhabitants of the same. So they brought the king word again. Then the king sent and gathered together all the elders of Judah and Jerusalem. And the king went up into the house of Yahweh, and all the men of Judah, and all the men of Judah, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, the priests and the Levites, and all the people, great and small, and he read in their ears all the words of the book of the covenant that was found in the house of Yahweh. And the king stood in his place and made a covenant before Yahweh to walk after Yahweh, and to keep his commandments and his testimonies and his statutes with all his heart and with all his soul, to perform the words of the covenant that are written in this book. And he caused all that were present in Jerusalem and Benjamin to stand to it. And the inhabitants of Jerusalem did according to the covenant of Elohim, and the Elohim of their fathers. And Josiah took away all the abominations out of all the countries that pertained to the children of Israel, and made all that were present in Israel to serve, even to serve Yahweh their Elohim. And this day and all his days they departed not from following Yahweh the Elohim of their fathers. Chapter 35. Moreover, Josiah kept a Passover unto Yahweh in Jerusalem, and they killed the Passover on the 14th day of the first month. And he set the priests in their charges, and encouraged them to the service of the house of Yahweh, and said unto the Levites that taught all Israel, which were holy unto Yahweh, Put the holy ark in the house which Solomon the son of David, king of Israel, built. It shall not be a burden upon your shoulders. Serve now Yahweh your Elohim and his people Israel, and prepare yourselves by the house of your fathers after your courses, according to the writing of the king of David, the king of Israel, and according to the writing of Solomon his son, and stand in the holy place according to the divisions of the families of the fathers of your brethren, the people, and after the divisions of the families of the Levites. So kill the Passover, and sanctify yourselves, and prepare your brethren, that they may do according to the word of Yahweh by the hand of Moses. And Josiah gave to the people of the flocks, lambs, and kids, all for the Passover offering, and all that were present, to the number of 30,000, and 3,000 bullocks. These were of the king's substance. And his princes gave willingly unto the people, to the priests, and to the Levites. Hilkiah and Zechariah and Jehiel, rulers of the house of Elohim, gave unto the priests for the Passover offering 2,600 small cattle and 300 oxen. Verse 9. Conaniah also, and Shemaiah, and Nathaniel his brethren, and Hashabiah, and Jael, and Jozabad, chief of the Levites, gave unto the Levites for Passover offerings 5,000 small cattle and 500 oxen. So the service was prepared, and the priests stood in their place, and the Levites in their courses, according to the king's commandment. And they killed the Passover, and the priests sprinkled the blood from their hands, and the Levites flayed them. And they removed the burnt offerings, that they might give according to the divisions of the families of the people to offer unto Yahweh, as it is written in the book of Moses. And so they did with the oxen. And they roasted the Passover with fire according to the ordinance, but the other holy offerings sawed they in pots and in cauldrons and in pans, and divided them speedily among all the people. And afterward they made ready for themselves and for the priests, because the priests and the priests, the sons of Aaron, were busied. Sorry, my light messed up. Excuse me. Because the priests, the sons of Aaron, were busied in offering the burnt offerings and the fat until night. Therefore the Levites prepared for themselves and for the priests, the sons of Aaron. And the singers, the sons of Asaph, were in the work in their place according to the commandment of David. And Asaph and Heman and Jeduthun, the king's seer, and the porters, excuse me, waited at every gate, that they might not depart from their service. For their brethren, the Levites, prepared for them. So all the service of Yahweh was prepared the same day, to keep the Passover, and to offer burnt offerings upon the altar of Yahweh, according to the commandment of King Josiah. And the children of Israel that were present kept the Passover at that time, and the feast of unleavened bread 7 days. And there was no Passover like to that kept in Israel from the days of Samuel the prophet, neither did all the kings of Israel keep such a Passover as Josiah kept. And the priests and the Levites and all Judah and Israel that were present, and the inhabitants of Jerusalem, in the 18th year of the reign of Josiah was the Passover kept. After all this, when Josiah had prepared the temple, Necho, king of Egypt, came up to fight against Carchemish by Euphrates, and Josiah went out against him. But he sent ambassadors to him, saying, What have I to do with thee, thou king of Judah? Come not against thee this day, but against the house wherewith I have war. For Elohim commanded me to make haste, forbear thee from meddling with Elohim, who is with me, that he destroy thee not. Sorry, that was choppy, but he's saying, Elohim told me to tell you don't mess around, or else you'll be destroyed. 22. Nevertheless, Josiah would not turn his face from him, but disguised himself, that he might fight with him, and hearkened not unto the words of Necho from the mouth of Elohim, and came to fight in the valley of Megiddo. And the archers shot at King Josiah. And the king said to his servants, Have me away, for I am wounded. His servants therefore took him out of the chariot, and put him in the second chariot that he had, and they brought him to Jerusalem, and he died. and was buried in one of the sepulchres of his fathers. And all Judah and Jerusalem mourned for Josiah. And Jeremiah lamented for Josiah, and all the singing men, and the singing women spake of Josiah in their lamentations to this day, and made them an ordinance in Israel. And behold, they are written in the lamentations. Now the rest of the acts of Josiah and his goodness, according to that which was written in the law of Yahweh, and his deeds, first and last, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. Chapter 36. Then the people of the land took Jehoahaz, the son of Josiah, and made him king in his father's stead in Jerusalem. Jehoahaz was 23 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 3 months in Jerusalem. And the king of Egypt put him down at Jerusalem and condemned the land in 100 talents of silver, and a talent of gold. And the king of Egypt made Eliakim, his brother, king over Judah and Jerusalem, and turned his name to Jehoiakim. And Necho took Jehoahaz, his brother, and carried him to Egypt. Jehoiakim was 25 years old when he began to reign, and he reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh his Elohim. Against him came up Nebuchadnezzar, king of Babylon, and bound him in fetters to carry him to Babylon. Nebuchadnezzar also carried the vessels of the house of Yahweh to Babylon and put them in his temple at Babylon. Now the rest of the acts of Jehoiakim and his abominations which he did, and that which was found in him, behold, they are written in the book of the kings of Israel and Judah. And Jehoiakim his son reigned in his stead. Jehoiakim was 8 years old when he began to reign. And he reigned 3 months and 10 days in Jerusalem, and he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh. And when the year was expired, King Nebuchadnezzar sent and brought him to Babylon with the goodly vessels of the house of Yahweh, and made Zedekiah his brother king over Judah and Jerusalem. Zedekiah was 21 years old when he began to reign, and reigned 11 years in Jerusalem. And he did that which was evil in the sight of Yahweh his Elohim, and humbled not himself before Jeremiah the prophet, speaking from the mouth of the Yahweh. And he also rebelled against King Nebuchadnezzar, who had made him swear by Elohim that he stiffened his neck and hardened his heart from turning unto Yahweh Elohim of Israel. Moreover, all the chief of the priests and the people transgressed very much after all the abominations of the heathen, and polluted the house of Yahweh which he had hallowed in Jerusalem. And Yahweh Elohim of their fathers sent to them by his messengers, rising up betimes and sending, because he had compassion on his people and on his dwelling place. But they mocked the messengers of Elohim and despised his words and misused his prophets, until the wrath of Elohim rose against his people, till there was no remedy. Therefore he brought upon them the king of the Chaldees, who slew their young men with the sword in the house of their sanctuary, and had no compassion upon young man or maiden, old man, or him that stooped for age. He gave them all into his hand. And all the vessels of the house of Elohim, great and small, and the treasures of the house of Yahweh, and the treasures of the king and his princes, all these he brought to Babylon. And they burned the house of Elohim, and brake down the wall of Jerusalem, and burnt all the places thereof with fire, and destroyed all the goodly vessels thereof. And them that had escaped from the sword carried he to Babylon, where they were servants to him and his sons, until the reign of the king of the kingdom of Persia, to fulfill the word of Yahweh by the mouth of Jeremiah, and until the land had been destroyed. Sorry, until the land had been enjoyed, had enjoyed her Sabbaths. For as long as she lay desolate, she kept Sabbath to fulfill 60 years. Now, in the first year of Cyrus, king of Persia, that the word of Yahweh spoken by the mouth of Jeremiah might be accomplished, Yahweh stirred up the spirit of of Cyrus, king of Persia, that he made a proclamation throughout all the kingdoms, and put it also in writing, saying, Thus saith Cyrus, king of Persia, all the kingdoms of the earth hath Yahweh Elohim of heaven given me, and he hath charged me to build him a house in Jerusalem, which is in Judah, who is there among all his people. Yahweh his Elohim be with him, and let him go up. That is the end of the book of Second Chronicles. And the next book we're going to read is the book of Psalms. I think we'll pick up on that on Monday. And yeah, if you haven't followed along in this series, I've been calling it the Snowball Bible Reading Plan. We started with the smallest books of the Bible, and now we are at well, arguably the longest book of the Bible. I've combined any books like First, Second, and Third John, First and Second Chronicles, First and Second Kings into one reading so that we could read them back to back. So Psalms is I kind of just wanted to save that book for last. I love Psalms, and so I saw J.R. Cleve. It's not showing any chats, but thanks for listening in. I love you guys. I hope you have a happy Sabbath, and we'll see you in the next Bible reading. Shalom.